Well, it is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, and I want to find out from you what it was like the last time you got pulled over. So call in live and local, 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here for Springfield's Morning News. And it's real simple. You just call in live. This little phone here lights up. I pick it up, and then we take your call. So that's how it works here with WMAY. But, of course, you have to know the phone number, 217-629-7970. My wife and I have been watching Cops, for some reason. I remember when Cops first came on TV. I had to have been, probably 6-7 years old or something. And I was just glued to the TV anytime it was on. It was amazing. And then it's been on for like 35 years, which blows me away. But I've been watching some of the most recent episodes, and the formula is still the same. Ride-alongs with police, camera guys who probably have as much of a need for adrenaline as the law enforcement officers cruising around. Some of them are daytime, some of them are at nighttime. Typically, it involves some kind of pursuit, either on foot or in vehicles, to where then they get up with the person, and that person just instantly apologizes and is in a bad spot, and or they get pulled over, they cooperate with the pullover, and then it turns out that either the cop smells pot or sees some other kind of paraphernalia in plain sight, and then the person is found with meth or heroin in some cases, and you can see that the police are really aiming at getting individuals help that they need, but also keeping these people out of causing all kinds of public safety concerns by driving around and doing all of those types of crimes that could put people in harm's way. But I wanted to hear from you and just have a little bit of fun with this and what it was like the last time you got pulled over. So 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here with Springfield's Morning News. I'll share with you the last time I got pulled over. It was a couple of months ago. I was actually on my way back from Decatur from a news event, and a police officer said I was going a little too fast. So I did not get a ticket. We'll get to that coming up. Good morning. You're on WMAY. What happened the last time you got pulled over? What's up?
Yeah, it was about 7 years ago. I got pulled over here in Springfield, and the city cop that pulled me over noticed I had a CDL, and he was real friendly. He basically told me there's quite a process to get your CDL reinstated if you got pulled over or, with a speeding ticket. And he was real friendly. I was real friendly back to him, and he ended up cutting me a break with a warning and went about our way, yes, sir, no, sir type thing. And so,
well, what's the process of having to get you? What happens if you get caught speeding and you've got a CDL license? I don't have a CDL myself, so I don't know what the process is.
You have to basically go back into the DMV and take certain tests if you're found guilty on it.
Oh, geez. Yikes. Yeah, that's no fun. So definitely, keep the speed low. All right. Appreciate the call on that. And I think you raised something that's important for people to realize. And it's something that even the ACLU of Illinois lays out, don't run. Don't resist. Don't complain at the scene. Don't get into an argument with police. These are all some tips from the ACLU of Illinois. We'll get to some more of those. But, of course, your phone calls at 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. You also forgot if your man's getting arrested, you have to shout out, "But I love him."
Which a lot of the times the passenger of the vehicle is let go on their own recognizance. And police are like, hey, call somebody to pick you up.
Domestic.
Yeah.
Any domestic. The girl's getting beat or whatever, and so, they take the guy to jail, and she's like, "But I love him." It's like, you're crazy.
It's one of those things where it's like the police, how do you convince that woman that they need to get out of that kind of relationship?
Agreed.
And sadly, it doesn't necessarily get across all the time.
One of the most memorable moments, I got pulled over. I was driving my girlfriend home from a sleepover that she had. We were in high school. I was going through Dawson, and I was doing about 75 because I wanted to get back home because it was Sunday morning. and Sangamon County was coming the opposite way. And like I said, I was doing about 75. We just entered Dawson's limit, so it was about a 45. He lit me up, and I immediately pulled over. He made a quick UE, came to me and was like, license, registration. He goes, what were you doing going so fast? And I said, well, I was taking her home. And of course, then I just had to throw it in there. Then I was going to go to church. And so anyway, so the cop went back, and he came back, and he said, here's your license, here's your registration. Slow the F down.
Did you say, sir, like, my virgin ears, my virgin ears, you can't say that kind of word. I'm getting ready to go to church.
I did not even care. I was like, thank you, sir. You have a great day. And he said, and thank you for pulling over.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I said, you shine your lights. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
He said, son, it's Sunday morning. Everybody's getting out from a freaking party.
Yep.
He said, you pulled over, we're good to go.
Yeah, appreciate the call, and good kind of overview of things that you need to keep in mind. I do want to go through some of the tips that the ACLU of Illinois has for if you get stopped by police. Now, if you're on foot, they say don't get in an argument with police, don't run, don't touch any police officer, don't resist, don't even try to proclaim you're innocent, and so on. Just, you know what? The only thing you have to do is you have to provide ID if they ask for it. And the same thing, too, if you're stopped in your vehicle, you got to show your driver's license and registration when stopped in a car. Otherwise, the ACLU says you don't have to answer any questions if you are detained or arrested, with one important exception. The police may ask your name if you have been properly detained. And if you're arrested in some states, you could be arrested if you refuse to provide that name. Now, if you reasonably fear, and this is interesting, that your name is incriminating because maybe you know you have warrants, you can claim the right to remain silent, which may be a defense in the case if you're arrested. So it'd be interesting to see, how that plays out. But what was it like the last time you got pulled over? Did you kind of abide by these rules of not arguing with police? Or were you somebody who just showed your ID and then you kept your mouth shut? Because you are not obligated to answer police questions. You are obligated, though, if you're on public roads, to show that ID and proof of insurance, but they typically can run whether or not you got proof of insurance just by your tags. So all of that's been streamlined and modernized and such. What was it like the last time you got arrested? What was it like the last time you got pulled over? We'll take one last call here. Good morning. You're on WMAY. I know this guy's been arrested before. What's up?
Well, hello, Greg.
Yeah.
I appreciate the...
a man of leisure, surely you've been arrested, right?
I was pulled over one time for the speed I was going. And I said, officer, what's the problem? He says, well, you're going too slow.
What?
I said, oh, I understand. Here. And I showed him my gentleman of leisure card. He goes, oh, sir, I'm sorry. You can go now. And he gave me tickets to the ball, too, which I didn't know cops had any balls, but apparently I guess they do.
Stop it. Okay, get out of here. Stop it. That's the wrong button. I should have hit the dump button on that one. All right. Everybody's a comedian. Oh, boy. Hey, law enforcement are going to have the Crime Stoppers fundraiser coming up. We're actually going to get details on that and the Crime of the Week with Crime Stoppers at the tail end of this hour. But the last time you got pulled over, what was it like? For me, I was on the way back from a news event in Decatur and heading back to the Springfield area. Driving right along, no worries, just doing, minding my own business. And I was probably going like 76, 77. I'll admit to it. But state trooper pulls me over. I hadn't been pulled over for quite some time up to that point several months ago. He comes up. He's just like, hey, just, want to let you know, clocked you going a little fast here. Take it slow. I'm going to give you a warning. That's after, of course, I handed him my ID and insurance card and everything. And, I wasn't hiding anything. I may have been going a little fast, but he gave me a warning. And I think that, if you cooperate, law enforcement a lot of times will give you the benefit of the doubt. It's when you start lying, and that's something I think is pretty evident when you watch Cops. Is officers will regularly ask questions that they're looking for ways to find out what's really going on, and sometimes if a law enforcement officer smells something coming out of the car and the person starts answering questions not in an honest fashion, they're not being candid, then the law enforcement officer ends up finding stuff, and that's going to make it a lot worse of a day. You're not going to be having a good day after that if you start lying to law enforcement. Also, you're not going to have a good day if you try to flee law enforcement. So, again, the ACLU of Illinois recommends don't run, don't complain on the scene, don't resist. You must show your driver's license and registration. Otherwise, you don't have to answer any questions if you're detained or arrested. So keep that in mind. You have the right to remain silent. Because anything that you say can be used against you in a court of law. 217-629-7970. Let's get another call here before the break. The last time you were pulled over, what was that like? Good morning.
Well, can I just explain that about my dear mother in heaven? Okay, so about 50 years ago, we were in the backseat of the car, and she got pulled over on Mother's Day.
Oh!
We were on our way to Rushville, and the officer... she pulled over and he said, ma'am, did you know you were going like 65 and a 60? And she said, oh, officer, I'm really sorry. Give me a ticket. Here's my license. And she was so compliant. And because it was Mother's Day, he said, you know what, ma'am, I'm not going to give you a ticket. You've never had a ticket before. It's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day.
This sounds like the beginning of a country song. It was Mother's Day, and we're rushing to Rushville.
That's what it was.
That's pretty awesome. Great story. And again, I think that highlights that if you're compliant with the officer, they're going to, have some leniency. But again, at the same time, you don't have to answer any law enforcement officers' questions. You do have to give them your driver's license if you're driving, all right, and your proof of insurance. But other than that, they can ask, where are you headed? You don't have to say anything. They can ask, do you know how fast you were going? You don't have to say anything. I think you can say, am I being detained? If so, I'd like to have a lawyer present. I mean, that's your prerogative under the Constitution of the United States. But also, you could probably just say, you know what? Give me whatever ticket you're going to give me and let me go along my way. Period. End of story. So you got to know your rights in these situations, but you also got to know that if you resist and provide a thorn in the side of law enforcement, they're not going to be happy with that. Let's get another call here. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hi, good morning. I have always, when I got stopped, I'm always speeding, so it's no big deal, but I'm also a mom of a...
You're not supposed to admit to anything.
I am. There's just no getting around it. But I'm also a mom of a police officer, and I've never used that to try and get out of anything, except one time, my last time that I was stopped, I just handed him everything. I was in a hurry. It was kind of like, come on, hurry up, I'm in a hurry. And he did look at me, and he goes, are you such and such's mom?
Oh, man.
And I was like, yeah. Like, I used to come over and play at your house.
That's funny.
So that one, I didn't get a ticket on that one, but that's the only one.
That's too funny. I had a kind of an interesting instance happen to me years ago. I was heading into the radio station to do news across the way here in the newsroom, and I was speeding, and well, got pulled over, and law enforcement officer came up, grabbed my information, went back to the car, came back up about 5 minutes later. He goes, Mr. Bishop, why didn't you tell me who you were on the radio? And I never really play that game. I never play the "Don't you know who I am" game. That's just pompous, and I'm not that kind of guy. And I told him, I said, should I have? I mean, would it have made any difference if I said, "Hey, I'm Greg Bishop on the radio. I do the news. You better let me go." The officer said, "No, it wouldn't have made a difference, but I'm just curious why you didn't tell me who you were." Come on. All right, so interesting stories. Hopefully you learned something. And also be sure to tell your kids, know your rights, but be compliant with law enforcement. Because if not, you can end up in a really bad situation. All right, appreciate everybody's thoughts on this. It is Springfield's